Coming back to the United Center almost a year after his NBA breakout game, Quinten Post remembered all the Vucevic comparisons and chatter and showed exactly what kind of stretch 5 he can be. From nailing weak side corner threes to pick and pop situations, Post's shooting ability is turning into a real cheat code for the Warriors offense. I want to break down his all-around play and the continuous progress he's making towards becoming the team's starting center, so let's get to it. Even though the Warriors were on the second night of a back-to-back, they did not miss in the first quarter and never trailed in the game. Buddy Hield attacks off the catch here using a shimmy move and gets dribble penetration to the middle of the court. Jimmy is cutting at the same time and accidentally brings his defender in Dosunmu, who peels off to help. Vucevic naturally rotates to the key to tag Butler as the weak side low man, but clearly he did not know his personnel. Great kick-out pass to the weak side corner, and Post easily spots up the stretch the floor with an open three-pointer. Only in today's modern NBA do you see guards setting pin-down screens for 7-footers. Butler gets the ball and looks at the weak side, where Richards sets a pin-down on Vucevic. Opposing big men are not wired to stick to the body of shooters or chase around screens, so Richards is able to set a screen closer to the free throw line here. That creates even more extra space, and look at Vucevic helplessly trying to shoot the gap. Post stops in his tracks for another wide-open catch-and-shoot 3-ball. It is not going to happen overnight, clearly, but we can all see Post developing into a serviceable center on defense. That was his main issue his rookie year, and I don't think he's ever going to become Anthony Davis or someone, but you can clearly see the improvement this year. With Kobe White trying to come to set a screen, Vucevic rejects the pick and gets a step on Richard. The Warriors have a defensive philosophy of having the low man come super early to help on the drive. Here Post is already in the paint and comes over to cut him off. Now, this pressures Vucevic into the short corner where he is momentarily double-teamed. On top of that, look at QP's quick hands getting a nice swipe on Vucevic's weak left-hand dribble, and he ends up picking the loose ball for a steal. Pat Spencer had another solid game starting at point guard. I love seeing him run the offense and making the right passes. Jimmy tries to come set a screen but dives early. This allows Spencer to attack with a strong right hand and get a step on Dosunmu. Vucevic is in a tough spot here, playing drop coverage, but also turning to his side to try to help on the quick rolling Jimmy Butler. But the weak side low man in Vucevic smells his potential lob out and comes early to tag the roll man as well. With Buddy Hield at the top of the key and Post in the weak side corner, fantastic pass directly to Post's shooting pocket, where Terry could not physically be able to rotate. Now Vucevic has a sprint from inside the paint, and Post's no-dip three-point release has become a thing of beauty to get his shot off much faster. The Pat Spencer Quen Post pick and roll or pick and pop is now one of the more reliable plays. Post comes to set a pick and normally he will pop out to the 3-point line, but why don't we switch it up this time? With Kobe White doing a good job of initially fighting over the screen and Vucevic in the drop coverage, the Bulls are treating Spencer like he's prime Chris Paul in these pick and roll coverages. Post then rolls to the rim and Pat dumps off a perfectly timed pass where Post can just catch and immediately go up with the floater. He does get bumped a bit here and misses his first attempt, but easily follows up his own miss with another high quality look. Again, the Spencer-Post chemistry has become more and more undeniable. The Warriors run their split action here, but Buddy tries to run off Spencer's screen, but Chicago blows it up even though they do not switch. Post does not keep the ball and kicks it back out, but runs towards the point guard right away for another on-ball screen. With White fighting over the pick and Vucevic in another high show, you can see him trying to call for the switch so White can run back to Post. Pat's able to squeeze this bounce pass through the defenders right in front of QP, so all he has to do is pick up the ball and launch another clean look. This has slowly become a consistent recipe to generate high quality looks. This was an impressive display of Post's passing skills. Jimmy Butler has a mismatch and tries to post up the smaller White, who is fronting him. Chicago helps from behind as well when Vucevic comes from the weak side to shade directly in the paint. When Jimmy sees this, you can see him pointing at someone to go receive the ball at the top of the key. The reason is now Post is able to counter the fronting by lobbing a pass over to the defense. He also waits for the right moment because Vucevic had to get out of the key using the NBA known 2.9 second defensive philosophy to avoid a 3-second call. But the second Vucevic's right foot steps out of the paint, Post is able to lob a pass fully over both defenders. Easy uncontested alley-oop by Jimmy and great passing skills and counter by the Warriors. On defense, Post has slowly learned to not jump on shot fakes and actually use his 7-foot frame to contest shots with his hands up and while he is at his apex. Williams comes from the outside to grab the offensive rebound, but look at Post keeping his hands up until the very last second before committing to the block. This helps him avoid stupid fouls, and even though he is not able to secure the rebound, he comes back to challenge Collins' second attempt and forces the Bulls into another miss. Amazing patience and discipline here in his road to becoming a better rim protector. Brandon Pajensky also had his best game of the season, and here he was able to run a pick and pop with Post as well. QB sets the on-ball screen and Kobe White goes under the pick, so Post resets another one to get Pods to attack with a strong left hand. White is still fighting over the pick and Collins is in a heavy drop position, but he eventually calls for the switch. The Bulls are clearly miscommunicating the whole night, but observe the extra second it takes Pods to know where he is on the court before realizing Post has been wide open for a few seconds. Not trying to make comparisons here, but Spencer naturally finds Post on these actions while Pods just waited a bit longer. Still, Collins is super late and far away in closing out, and Quinten Post drains another triple. There you guys have it. Quinten Post continues to be active for a 7-footer on a small ball team, understanding his role and impacting the game in multiple ways. You can see his confidence growing in real time. He's switching onto guards, recovering the bigs, and rebounding with force, and knocking down threes like it's nothing. These are the kind of steps that turn a stretch 5 into a legitimate foundational piece. If Post keeps trending like this, the Warriors might have their long-term answer at center already in the building. Now onto a long 5-day break. So you guys enjoyed this breakdown, like and subscribe to see more.